Mm-hmm.
Good.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to True Health Tuesday. And the truth will set you free. Of course, it depends on your truth. Now, if you decide to trust science, okay, that's like trusting astronomy. Do we know everything? Do we know everything about physics? No, there's a whole different world other than Newtonian physics. Now, of course, the Nico time cigarettes are the best for pregnant women. Yes, you can mix heroin in with cough syrup. And for God's sake, stay off of grass in Huntington Beach because there's a pandemic. I just think it, imagine 500 years from now. Okay, they're going to look back at this and go, wow, holy shit, that TV really did rot your brain. Okay, so we're going to stop this about halfway through because some stuff is not approved by the Ministry of Truth. Luckily, they are not arresting people yet. They're just censoring you, okay? Eventually, it'll be censored, then arrest, then shooting. So if anyone in the front row happens to see something like this, okay, duck. Probably a better shot, so you don't need to worry about it. I do. Dr. B VIP, go there. Okay, share this information because God knows how long it's going to be up. You go to the Dr. B VIP, you're going to get the handouts, you're going to get everything that we put on there, and you'll have the stuff that all the people here get. We're also streaming it live on the Dr. B VIP, and we're streaming it live on the Extreme Health Academy. So this way it's not interrupted. Now, why is that important? Well, I found this article, and I think this might get by the censors because it's actually from Science Direct out of the Journal of Diabetic and Metabolic Syndrome, Clinical Research and Reviews. But listen to this, and this is kind of interesting because we've gone through absolute hell for about a year and a half where you've been told that you're essential or you're not essential. Your economy is wiped out, and all because of COVID-19. This talks about something totally unique. It's called your immune system. I know. Say it with me. Wow! What a brilliant idea! I just ran around like I was a scared little rabbit thinking that you have no defenses. No, you're actually designed to live here. Potential beneficial role of probiotics on the outcome of COVID-19 patients, an evolving perspective. Probiotics, does that mean that since 80% of the immune system's in the gut, if you take care of the gut or have gut alterations, it either makes you predisposed to an injury or can protect you. Wow. Conclusions. Most data show good results demonstrating that probiotics can play a significant role in fighting SARS-CoV-2 infection, also compared with their use for the past various diseases. They seem effective in lowering inflammatory status. Moreover, in patients with chronic comorbidities such as cancer and diabetes, improving clinical outcomes. Holy moly, that's cancer, diabetes, the chronic disease epidemic that affects 60% of our population. It can be helped by helping the gut flora. Wow. Okay, so how does that work? What's the gut-lung connection? And that's what we're going to look into tonight, because this is literally your immune system. Now, you have a pathologic approach, okay, where the body is actually going to deal with this. But let's look at the gut. There's one nerve that governs everything. It's called a vagus nerve. And this thing does secretions, motility, everything. It's amazing. But everything it does in the digestive tract is only 10% of its function. 90% of it is afferentation or sensory input. And that just seems amazing because that means that the gut bacteria, the gut funguses, the gut microbiome inside of there, that communication with your brain, you're like a symbiote. You need this. Now, I want you to take a close look at that top, the NFKB. Now that, if you have some way, because that's a part of a pathologic mechanism, if you have some way to neutralize that, you massively increase your immune system function. And we're going to talk about that because it's really, you got two choices. You could be afraid of every pathogen on the planet and Purell your children, or you can realize that you're designed to live here and you strengthen your immune system. Wow, amazing. Now, lungs have their own self-cleaning mechanism where you'll wear that. And I love the quotes on this. from the co-author of the study, University of North Carolina. The air we breathe isn't exactly clean. We take in many dangerous elements every minute, the co-author explained. We need a mechanism to remove all the junk we breathe in, and that's done with a sticky substance called mucus, which lines the airways, catches these particles before they reach the epithelial cells. Many lung problems, such as cystic fibrosis, begin when the mechanisms fails to function and the lungs aren't able to purge their invading particles. Isn't that interesting? That your design, where'd everyone go? Imagine that. Okay, you can't sneeze, you can't cough. You kids are too young to remember this, okay? But back in the old days when somebody would sneeze, you would say, God bless you. Yeah, if you God bless you too, thanks a lot, okay? Or Gesundheit, if you get a little German in you. But you wouldn't run in fear, okay? It was a normal thing. Why? Because you breathe in stuff and you got to breathe out this. Okay, so let's look at this. If that article is talking about just changing your bacteria in your gut strengthens your immune system, let's look at the other stuff. Now this, the NFKB, this is in almost every toxic product on the planet, okay? And it's involved in diabetes, heart attacks, Crohn's, arthritis, inflammatory bowel disorder, shock. I mean, all of these different pathogens or pathologies that human beings, particularly Americans, are susceptible to and suffering from, nearly every fruit and vegetable contains substances which can inhibit this. Wow. So think of that. So we're looking at an article that says if you help the gut flora, you help your immune system. And if you help lung function, you help your entire body. And this says if you have a plant-based diet or more plants and fruits in your diet, that it really helps your immune system. I know. Well, I'm just thinking because if the media was so concerned about this, wouldn't you want to see this on TV? Not a little ticker tape of everybody that's dying or sick or death and destruction, but how about a little ticker tape of, make sure you get your vitamin D. Try eating a little bit more fresh fruits. It's good for you. You're designed to live here. Hug each other, social distancing. Okay, so another part of the article, and this is hugely important because you're not an island. Okay, beneficial association from microorganisms, first established in 1892. They found benefits from fermented milk in 1908. The term microbiome, and learn these two terms and own these two terms, then you're going to be understanding how you are a ship. You are an ecosystem thriving through this world. The term microbiome, including the entire genetic patrome of all living organisms in the human body, gastrointestinal system, skin, respiratory, urodegenital system. Now that's the microbiome. But on there and in there is the microbiota. Okay, and this is something that's unique to everybody and unique to the environment you're living in. This is the funguses, the viruses, the pathogens, the part that makes you up. This is the 3 pounds of bacteria. This is the trillions and trillions of viruses that help you thrive on this planet. This is your world. Without them, you die. Hence, the microbiome has its own biologic importance and should be studied as part of the entire human genome. Okay, let me read that again because I want you to own this. That your genetic makeup is not just located in your nucleus, okay, of your cells. That your genetic makeup is intimately connected to the surrounding structures, the ones that keep you alive, the bacteria, the viruses, the funguses. All of these things, you're designed to live with this. Without it, you do not thrive. Hence, the microbiome has its own biological importance and should be studied as part of the entire human genome. That means we need to take a look at your bacteria, viruses, funguses, in your eyes, in your mucous membranes, on your skin, and find out how you're functioning in conjunction or harmony with your world, because this is how you're designed. Another article came out May last year And interesting, tripartite combination candidate of mitigating agents. Mitigating agents means it slows something down. Vitamin C, quercetin, which is a bioflavonoid that's in, it's like a bitter tasting one. So like it's in kale, red onions. And estradiol manifest properties of medicinal agents, has targeted mitigation for COVID-19 pandemic by the genomic tracings of SARS-CoV-2 targeted in human cells. Yes, that is the title of the article. That's not the article. Okay, doesn't it make you want to just sit down and read that one? Okay, so when you go through this, and again, they're talking about, should you be afraid of the virus or should you strengthen your immune system? What kind of things strengthen your immune system? Vitamin D, bioflavonoids, and it turns out estradiols. In fact, that alters the expression of 98 of 332, 30% of human genes encoding protein targets for the SARS-CoV-2 virus. Interfering functions of 85% of SARS-CoV viral proteins. Vitamin D may interfere with 70% of SARS-CoV proteins by altering the expression of 25% of the human genome's targeting. So we're looking at this, oh my God, vitamin D, bioflavonoids, and then we have the microbiome. So if the governmental authorities, the ones that are in charge of your health, because obviously you don't need to think for yourselves, okay, the governmental authorities that are telling you exactly what to think, why? Because they're controlling the media, okay, are they telling you this? It's been over a year, and now it's the first time I'm seeing articles on your immune system. So why? Where's this narrative coming from? You got two things competing for you. You could have a strong immune system so you can thrive on the planet, or run for the hills because there's an evil virus out there that will kill you. And if you're not complying, you're trying to kill others. You want to know why? Because the New England Journal of Medicine last year came out with 6 criteria to mandate a vaccine. Now, all of these criteria have to be in place in order for you to submit, to lose your bodily autonomy. They have to be in place, all 6 of these, and then you will have to submit. If not, there's going to be camps for you. They have them up in Canada now. First, COVID-19 is not adequately controlled in the state. There's that ticker tape of constant testing. We had one of our patients was here a couple of weeks ago, flew up to Canada where he lives and then flew back. He was tested 3 times in 1 week. So why? You got to keep testing people. Now, we can't go into the PCR test on this portion of it because if we did, it could be censored. But just know the PCR test designed by Carrie Mullis is not designed for diagnostics. It's not designed for viral load. It's not designed to see if you're infected. And this is the test they're using because it's easily manipulated. The advisory committee, or the ACIP, has recommendation for the vaccine and the groups could be considered. Obviously, the ACIP is going to recommend it. Why? Because they're shills or sheep governed by the pharmaceutical industry. The supply of vaccine, there's not a lot of vaccines that they go in and say, dude, I think we got enough. No, okay. The supply of vaccines has to be sufficient. Of course, they were producing the vaccines before they completed the trials. And in fact, if you're going to get one of the shots today, you are in part of the trial. Evidence about safety and efficacy of the vaccine has been transparently communicated. Of course, everyone here knows 95% efficacy. Of course, you're not sure about what efficacy means, because if you think it means it stops transmission, that's not known. In fact, it's not meant to stop transmission or infectivity. It's meant to reduce some symptoms. No, stop saying vitamin D and quercetin, okay? No, we're talking about the vaccine now. Boy, there's some moms. The state has created infrastructure to provide access to the vaccines without financial or logistic barriers, compensation of workers who have had adverse events from the required vaccine, and real-time surveillance of vaccine side effects. So all of these criteria have to be in place, okay, in order to do it. That's why the narrative is totally one-sided. And that's why one of the reasons censorship is going on so much. So let's look at your immune system. 80% of it's in the gut. Now, why would we look at the gut and lungs together? Because this is how you process nutrients and how you eliminate waste products. but also your automatic nervous system. If you're in a stress state, the fight or flight mechanism kicks in. That means decreased nerve supply and blood supply to the gut. But your body, blood supply will go up to the heart. It'll go up to the kidneys. It'll go up because you're in a stress state. Now the rest, digest, and repair, when that's activated, then your immune system's fully functioning and you can thrive on the planet. Now the vagus nerve, it's interesting. The one nerve that comes out of the brainstem here that supplies every function of the gut, okay, and also it's called the gut-brain axis, psychiatric and inflammatory disorders. So does that mean that this nerve, when your body is functioning correctly, and I'm not talking in a stress state, because when you're in a stress state, and physical, chemical, emotional stress, we should add physical, chemical, and television stress, okay, that puts you in that fight or flight state, shutting the nerve supply down to the gut. And the vagus nerve, 90% of it is sensory, 90% of it. That means your body has an intimate relationship with what's going on in the gut. And this is where the bacteria, the probiotics, the funguses, the yeast, everything are in there. We need that communication. Gut-brain axis, bidirectional communication between the central and enteric nervous system, linking emotional and cognitive centers. When you look at this, gastrointestinal disorders, anything that damages your gut damages your brain and damages your immune system. So is the gut important? Now, what's going on with our guts? Is it chronic stress? Absolutely, that's one of the contributing factors. You got physical, chemical, and emotional stress. All of those decrease nerve supply to the gut. But the chemical stressors, think of how many times you're wiping your counters or your skin with Purell. You have an ecosystem on your skin. And if you start destroying that ecosystem, you're only going to leave the pathogenic one, the ones that survive that. Like if you could have your home as clean as any hospital, as clean as any operating room, there's over 150,000 hospital-acquired infections a year. Why? Because you can't kill everything. Why? Because it's foolishness. You were designed to live on this planet. You have a microbiome, a microbiota. You've got these bugs on you that your grandmother, grandpa, great-grandma, that without these you would not survive. And so we need to look at this from a different perspective. Not that all germs are evil, okay, that's foolishness. Okay, if that were the case, you could just take handfuls of antibiotics every meal and you would be fine, except that's not how human beings work. You have an intimate relationship with this. Origins of Western-based diets, epidemiology of chronic diseases. Obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, osteoporosis, bowel disorders, autoimmune disease, cancers. Why? Because our Western diet is devoid. It doesn't have the fermented foods. It doesn't have the bacterial containing foods. It's hyper cleaned. It's been disinfected. It doesn't have the life. For you to put food on a shelf that bacteria won't eat, you got to remove the metabolic and digestive enzymes so bacteria won't go for it. And this is the majority of our calories. Genetically modified high fructose corn syrup is the #1 source of calories. Now, cholesterol drugs damage the gut biome. So how many people have high cholesterol, which is only a stress response, and they're taking a drug to lower it, and then they develop gut damage? What does that do to the immune system? Cholesterol drugs, the statins, they stimulate hardening of the arteries and heart failure. Polypharmacy. The average person over 65 has taken 7 prescriptions. Why do I think that's odd? Because I'll be 65 in a couple of years, and I'm not taking any, so that means somebody's making up for me. No, I'm not going to start. Okay, but I mean, it's mind-blowing. 30% of hospital admissions are from the right drug at the right time. If you're looking at 128,000 deaths a year, that's where the ticker tape should be on CNN. Okay, from the right drug at the right time in the right dosage. We're not talking overdose or polypharmacy where you're mixing a couple of drugs, destroying yourself. Now, Parkinson's disease, increased intestinal permeability, correlates with the endotoxin exposure markers in early Parkinson's. So what damages the gut flora? I'll tell you, you got funguses and yeast and viruses and bacteria in your gut. Without that, you would die. You have that on your skin. Without that, you would not live. Okay, this is vital for you. Now, if you take something that damages the bacteria, so this could be a medication, it could be a bread soaked in Roundup or glyphosates, it could be anything that damages the gut flora. Well, if you damage the bacteria in your intestinal tract, the yeast take over and they bore holes in the intestinal tract. And that causes undigested proteins to float around in your bloodstream, creating an inflammatory response. Does that have a neurologic consequence? Parkinson's. That's not good. Okay, so how would you correct Parkinson's? How many people with Parkinson's is going to the neurologist and they're taking Cinnamon, which calms down the symptoms, except it builds up to a toxic effect, then it causes the symptoms. Yes, this is modern medical care. I mean, can you imagine 500 years from now? They'll go, my God, why didn't you just fix the gut and the nervous system and regenerate the brain? Probiotics and digestive disorders. Recent studies demonstrate that probiotic bacteria have beneficial effects in these diseases, effectively improving the intestinal barrier. So what about every autistic kid, okay, that has damage to the gut? Every upper motor neuron lesion kid. I mean, every adult that has MS and Parkinson's. Should they look at their gut, knowing that there's a gut-brain connection? Yes or yes? I mean, let's make it easy. Annals of Internal Medicine. 1 serving of vegetables and fruit lowers your heart attack risk. Like before this virus, okay, there were around 650,000 deaths from heart disease, 650,000 deaths from cancer in the ballpark there. Of course, all of those have gone down because now the virus has taken over. Sorry. Did you smell that sarcasm there just for a little bit? Okay, just checking. Okay, heart disease, bioflavonoids. This is part of that quercetin. Okay, it's literally, the solutions are here. We're designed to live here. You take in more fruits and vegetables, you have good materials that your body can live. I mean, think of phytonutrients. Those plants get their colors because they fought off viruses, funguses, and bacteria. We eat that, we get some of that good stuff. Now, let's look at the breathing. C3, C4, C5 keeps you alive. What does that mean? The bones inside of the neck are called cervical, so we call them C. From the middle to the bottom of the neck, that's where the nerve called the phrenic nerve or the diaphragm comes out of. So every time you breathe, that diaphragm comes down, tummy should be coming out. You breathe out, the air goes out, tummy comes up. So does that mean if you've had a trauma, a neck issue, that could alter diaphragmatic function? Yeah. So when somebody comes in here with asthma, why are we looking at the neck? Why are we looking at the insertion of the diaphragm? Why are we looking at the biomechanics? Well, because that's how human beings work. And then you got the heart here that has this common carotid that comes up and splits, and right at that junction, there's a sensor for carbon dioxide and a sensor for blood pressure. So if your carbon dioxide levels are up, bam, that sends a signal down to increase that heart to get the oxygen going to the lungs. I mean, it's a beautiful system. But this system here, think of it. You got to get that oxygen transfer. What was the third and fourth slide I put up? That you're breathing in tons of crap, okay? And mucus and funguses and all this stuff has to get exudated. It's got to get out of your system. This is why you have to get deep breathing techniques that actually help your body transfer those gases and that toxins that you're breathing in. Do you really think they're going to be using masks in another 100 years? Well, yeah, if all the smart people are in the FEMA camps, okay. But, you know, this is crazy. Because people are saying, and I'm on all these forums, you hear the doctor saying, well, it doesn't limit carbon dioxide, it doesn't limit oxygen. You know, we could do a PO2 meter on your finger and have you wear a mask and you'll be just fine. Really? Does it help your immune system or harm it? I'm not looking at oxygen levels. I'm looking at a hell of a lot more than carbon dioxide going out. Goodness gracious. Okay, let's get some common sense. I mean, I've got family relatives that can't speak to each other because they have to have masks on. Good God. Okay, nose breathing. Sorry, sir, your mask has to cover your nose. Why? Well, because I know that if you breathe through your nose, you generate nitric oxide. Turns out it bronchodilator and vasodilator, so it opens up the tube to your lungs and your arteries. It also lowers your blood pressure, increases oxygen absorption, kills bacteria and viruses, and boosts your immune system. Sorry, cover your nose. No, it's only over your mouth. Cover your nose. Why am I pissed at that? Because I know this. And this 20-year-old something millennial that's working at Whole Foods, you know, that I got my mask here, they say cover your nose. And I'm going, my God. Yes, I'm going to go along with this. I'm acquiescing to this because, you know, just like the Germans did, okay, in World War II. You went along a little bit. Why? Because we have this delusion of normalcy, okay, that it's going to go back to normal. All you got to do is everybody's got to wear a mask for 100 days. All we got to do is just shut down for 2 weeks. No, that was March last year. Okay. Yeah. I mean, how much are we going to go along with this? Viruses are beneficial for asthma. What? Repeated viral infections, other than the lower respiratory tract infections, in early life may reduce the risk of developing asthma? That's amazing. So does that mean that our immune system needs to be worked out, like the hygiene hypothesis that we were talking about last week? Antibiotic use increases risk of asthma. No kidding. Most antibiotics are poisonous molds. You want to take that in your system? Yeah, if you have a deadly virus or a deadly bacteria that it's going to be effective with, maybe. But by gosh, I'd much rather strengthen my immune system than take a poisonous mold. Vitamin C. If you say vitamin C strengthens your immune system, you can get wiped out, okay, of YouTube, Facebook, everything. I'm just putting data up here, okay, that was from the National Institute of Health.gov, okay, and well, no, they did censor the CDC. Never mind. Okay, so this might get us kicked off, saying vitamin C is actually good for you. Vitamin A is very, very good for your lung function. These are some of the sources of vitamin A. Yes, that's right. Carrots, sweet potatoes. Turns out they're good for you. And I got to tell you, if you've ever fermented anything, you got to ferment sweet potatoes. They're freaking amazing. Okay, bioflavonoids, vitamin A, again, in raw butter, raw milk, a good bacteria, good healthy bacteria, glutathione, fantastically important. And you're looking at garlic, onions, cruciferous vegetables. There's an old guy that said, well, he was also said, let food be your medicine, medicine be your food. But he also said, first do no harm. There's a precautionary principle that said the human body is so complex that first, whatever intervention you do, first do no harm, okay, and then take it from there. Now that we have medical care has one of the leading causes of death in America, they obviously haven't paid attention to that. Curcumin and lung cancer, it can't be that simple. An antioxidant, okay, that tastes good, helps protect your immune system. Vitamin D, 830 peer-reviewed scientific studies show its treatment in cancer that it's beneficial. Healthy diet, Journal of Lung Cancer, European Clinical Nutrition, Journal of Cancer. And this is helping your lung function by eating correct food. I know. Wow. Who'd have thunk it? Okay. We're going to get into some heavy stuff now. Okay, stuff that, I know I talked about some dangerous stuff like vitamins being good for you and your immune system being good and strengthening your immune system as opposed to being fearful of the virus. We're going to go into facts and stats from like the Worldometer that's going to talk about the incident rates and things coming up. If you're watching the Dr. B VIP or if you're on Extreme Health Academy, you're going to there's going to be no interruption. Cool, dude. Okay, you'll like it. Share this information if you can. Okay, if you're not getting it, talk to somebody that's on the Dr. B VIP site, get the handouts from them, and send it off to them. Okay? I'm